Hello. So we're back with Tolly at a house called Green Knowe. And you remember we left him just coming in for tea after an afternoon in the stable where the old man Boggis had told him quite a lot about his family that he hadn't known before, and particularly about a mysterious ghost horse. Now we're going to find out a little bit more about that. Mrs. Oldknow was sitting in front of a tea tray by the fire, just as before, when Tolly came in all dirty with bits of straw in his hair. "I can see where you've been," she said. "Go and wash yourself and get the straw out of your hair, then come and tell me all about it. I can see you're bursting with questions again." When he came back, she said, "Show me your hands, and now turn round and let me see if you've got peat dust on the seat of your some hot buttered toast and honey." "Granny, what was the name of Toby's special horse?" Mrs. Oldknow put down her cup and saucer. "Boggis has been telling you stories." "Yes, and I found a funny board with patterns and writing on it. It looked like a name, but I couldn't read it. It was funny writing." "It was a name, Festi. Good boy, you are doing well. I thought that board was lost, that someone had chopped it up by mistake or on purpose. I haven't seen it since I was married." When the stables were built, each horse had its name above the manger. Alexander had a white pony called Bucephalus. Poor little Linnet wasn't allowed a horse of her own. She rode in a pannier behind her mother or Boggis. I mean the Boggis that was there then. "Granny, I do want to hear Festi neigh. Is my bedroom too far away to hear him? If he did, I mean." She smiled gently at him. "No, I don't think it's too far away." "Did you hear him when you were little?" "Oh, yes, I heard him, generally at sundown. There were other horses then, of course, but I could always tell Festi's voice. It's quite individual." There was a long silence, while Toseland imagined having a horse of his own, even a ghost horse. "I did a silly thing," he said at last. "I put a lump of sugar for him." "Well, that wasn't silly at all, darling," she said. "Granny, what did Linnet put in the bird cage? The chaffinch didn't like sugar. He came, you know, but he wouldn't stay." "Well, Linnet always left the door open. She didn't like to shut them in. She put crumbs of pastry or biscuit and seeds that she'd gathered in the garden in the summer. The chaffinches came and went as they liked, but they always built their nest in the cage in spring. She put a forked branch of hawthorn for them. You can do that too. I'm surprised they've remembered for so long. No one has used that room for years. I think they must tell stories to their nestlings." "Stories about Linnet, as you do to me?" "Well, why not?" "Tell me more about them, please. Why wasn't their father there in the picture?" Excuse me, a little drink of water. That's better. And Mrs. Oldknow went on. "He was a ship's captain. There was an older boy too, Aubrey, who was a midshipman on his father's ship. Captain Oldknow sailed all over the world. He used to bring home presents for his family. From one journey, he brought the mouse for Toby, your mouse, and that great silk Chinese lantern that hangs in the music room for his wife. It opens and shuts like an umbrella, but I never touch it now because the silk is so old and tender. Alexander and Linnet were not born then." "But what else did he bring home?" "Well, Holland, he brought all that lovely lace that they're wearing and the bird cage. From Spain, Toby's sword. Read it if it was a German book. Fashionable and exciting. Everyone wanted to have some. They're growing here in the garden still." "The same ones?" "Well, the same in a way, descended from them, as you are from the captain." "I feel as if I'd lived here always," said Toseland. "Why is it called Green Knowe?" Mrs. Oldknow's face suddenly creased into rings of unhappy wrinkles. "For someone who's lived here always, you ask a lot of questions," she said. "I know, Granny, but tell me, please." "It's not the real name," she said. "It used to be called Green Knowe, but it got changed a long time ago." That was all she would say, But Tolly had more questions. You know, he said, all those children's faces carved in wood in the entrance hall, they all seemed to be laughing when I came. Who put them there? This time Mrs. Oldknow looked pleased. But the grandmother in the picture found them in a builder's store. They came from the chapel of a monastery that had been pulled down. She brought them for the beams in the children's bedroom. She said they were guardian angels. Now, as you see, they're welcoming angels, though one was guardian to a chaffinch last year. What colour was Festy? He was chestnut, with a white nose and 4 white feet like a kitten, and he jumped like a cat. Toby and he loved each other more than anything on earth. But the deer was Toby's too, said Tolly, gazing at the picture. Isn't it beautiful? A deer seems more magic than a horse. Tolly lay awake in bed. There was so much to think about. The birds, the children, the floods, the stables where lovely Festy called for his master. It was a clear night with a full moon shining on miles of water and seeming twice as bright as usual. The bedroom was all silver and black with it as it poured through the window and flooded the floor with quicksilver. The flame of the nightlight looked like a little golden pen nib, giving less light than there already was around it. The moon shone in the rocking horse's eye, and in the mouse's eye too, when Tolly fetched it out from under his pillow to see. The clock went tick-tock, and in the stillness he thought he heard little bare feet running across the floor, then laughter and whispering, and a sound like the pages of a big book being turned over. At pictures by moonlight, he thought dreamily. But where are they? He sat up and stared all round the room. There was only his own bed and all his things just as he'd left them, clearly seen in the moonlight, though there were black patches of shadow under the windows where he could be. Then there was all the room repeated in the looking-glass, more mysterious, the moonlit parts brighter, the dark more impenetrable. The whispering went on. If they were in the dark corners, he thought, they couldn't see the pictures. Linnet, he called suddenly, where are you? Come out into the moonlight. There was a laugh just where he wasn't looking, and when he turned that way, a patter of feet, and the whispering was where he had been looking a moment before. Why are you teasing me? He asked, and was answered by such an infectious little laugh that he couldn't help laughing too. After that there was silence, but it was a companionable, happy one, in which presently he smiled and settled himself to sleep. He dreamt that he was holding out his hands, dripping with golden syrup, and that it was Festy who came with his soft white nose and pinky grey lips and sucked it all off, while Linnet flew in the air like a bird and laughed from the branches of the tree. When he woke, Mrs. Oldknow was standing by his bed smiling at him. It's time to get up. Look, the floods have all gone in the night. Come and see. She opened the window to lean out. Tolly, quick, quick. Under the high windows, all the lawns were emerald green. Beyond them, the river flowed obediently in its own course, and beyond that again were miles of green meadow. Right in front of the window, where the last pool was draining away from a hollow in the grass, a large silvery thing was twisting and jumping violently in the sun. It's a great big fish. It's one of Toby's carp from the moat, silly thing, got left behind when the water went away. Run, Tolly, put on your coat and your Wellingtons and throw it back in the moat. Tolly ran as fast as he could, slithering down the steep winding stairs in his socks, pulling on his Wellingtons by the front door. He reached the fish before anyone else, but it was nearly as big as he was, and flapped so wildly when he picked it up that he was afraid and let it fall again. Then it gasped horribly and lay still, and now he was afraid to touch it in case it was dying. Just then Boggis arrived with a wheelbarrow. Quick, quick, Mr. Boggis, it's Toby's fish. He's dying. It's Toby's. Mr. Boggis, quick. Boggis came without any hurry and bent his bright red face down to look. All right, that's one of Master Toby's, sure enough. What a size it have grown to. Must be hundreds of years old. He put the fish in his barrow, led Tolly, which was a ring of deep water all around the garden. There he tipped the barrow up, and the fish plopped in and disappeared. They stood and looked at the place where it had fallen. Was it still alive? Asked Tolly. As he spoke, a fish face poked above the surface. Toby, when you're 100 years old. Master Toby used to feed it with bread. It came when he called it, added Mrs. Oldknow, joining them. Its name is Neptune. Toby used to tell Linnet that it understood Latin. He always talked to it in Latin. She was very much impressed. Well, what did he say to it? He said, Veni Neptune, panem tabu tibi et vermes. I don't know any Latin. Well, neither did Linnet. It means, come on, Neptune, I'll give you bread and worms. In the garden, you'll find a platform over a pool where he fed them. They fed the birds together. Tolly wanted his hands to be buttered again, but was told that that was only for the introduction ceremony, not for every day. Do the birds understand Latin? No, not Latin. Music. Alexander used to play the flute to them. They used to sing when he played, but all different tunes. Only the thrushes learnt his tune, and the starlings who never sang it properly, they only made fun of it. What tune did the thrushes sing? Greensleeves, for one. Oh, Granny, I know Greensleeves, I really do. At school we had it on the wireless. I wish I had a flute. Or perhaps you'll get one for Christmas. That's quite soon, you know. Now finish your breakfast, and then you can explore the garden. And tomorrow we'll find out what Tolly finds when he does explore the garden, which is quite extraordinary. So goodbye for now. Goodbye.